Yesterday I was brought in by the law enforcement arm of the U.S. Postal Service, known as the U.S. Postal Inspection Service. I agreed to this requested meeting because I thought that my more than 8-month-long ordeal, during which I have been harassed, threatened, bullied, and intimidated by 2 fellow employees and then layers of management, was coming to some form of conclusion, or at least was coming before the Postal Inspection Service to deal with. This harassment initially was politically based, but then grew to include aspects of my person, including my race, religion, sexual preference, I'm straight, and my gender, male. They even included a direct threat made to me by my postmaster and his statements to federal agencies that I was a, quote, white nationalist, further documenting the political basis for the hostile work environment. When I arrived at the meeting with the postal inspectors, I was asked to remain by my car, leave my cell phone inside my car, and lift my shirt so I could be searched for weapons. I was, in effect, treated like a criminal. I was then escorted by 2 members of the Postal Inspection Service into a small room where I was told to take a seat. I was informed that since I had gone public and made a video that I had posted on YouTube and Facebook where I mentioned the names of those who had taken part in enabling and covering up my hostile work environment, people at the Postal Service, quote, were getting nervous, end quote, and had called on the law enforcement wing to have a sit-down talk with me. One inspector said to me, quote, your posting of that video now has us involved and you don't want that, end quote. While I was assured that I had done nothing wrong and was free to post more videos in the future, such postings would be met by, quote, more visits from us. I was asked to ensure them that I would not be engaging in any violent or aggressive actions toward the Postal Service or employees, despite the fact that I have never threatened anyone at the U.S. Postal Service. I have never even raised my voice or acted out in anger, and many times I have had conversations with the many levels of postal management. I was notified that although I was still an employee of the Postal Service, I was not permitted to step foot on postal property until, quote, your situation is resolved, end quote. When I asked what had brought them to this visit, they stated, quote, we were asked to become involved whenever a threat is made, end quote. I pointed out to them that I had made no threats, but threats had been made against me and nothing had ever been done about it. The response? We aren't here to address your issues. We are here because of the video you posted on social media. I would compare these types of intimidation tactics to something out of the Gestapo handbook, but the men and women who served in the Gestapo were much better dressed. I would like to thank Manager of Security for the U.S. Postal Service, Kim Alley, for her mention during a previous interview of the fact that the Hatch Act was violated by those threatening me. As of today, I have filed a complaint with the U.S. Office of Special Counsel in Washington, D.C. for a violation of the Hatch Act by 2 fellow employees and the failure of U.S. Postal Service management to protect me from that violation, despite the fact that the Manager of Security clearly stated in a conversation that I recorded that such a violation had occurred. I have engaged legal counsel and will proceed with this fight with all legal means at my disposal. I would like to thank the many people who have reached out to me. Many have been supportive. A few have been rather nasty, but they simply fuel me. A couple have suggested I just leave well enough alone and go find another job to provide for my family. To those few, I would say that the reason we have such a swamp in our country today is because too many people in the previous generation or two did exactly that. Hanging your head and walking away makes it worse for those who come after you. I will stand here and continue to push back against those who feel they are above the law and who, motivated by politics, spend day after day aggressively targeting those they don't agree with.